All right.
All right, that should work now. Hey, sorry, we were on without sound. I think it's working now. Hey, everyone. Tomas, Edwards, Dom Dom, Jorg. How's everyone doing? Did you sail this week? If so, how was it? Greg. Um, I've had a bunch of good sailing since we last saw each other on the live stream. Uh, though there were some really good days. The last what was my sailing like? I can pull it up. Um, I can pull up some sessions if you guys are curious. But I also want to know, did you guys sail? Was it windy? Hi, Herman. We got a lot to go through in the group. So I'll show my footage just a little bit just to show what I've been up to. But then otherwise, I'm going to jump right into the coaching because there's so much stuff to cover. I can't remember which videos I looked at here with you guys last time. Nice. Port Tech jumping. What were you working on? Light wind session, Sammy. Nice to see you, Sammy. Matt. Great session, 4-2. Maxed out. Sounds good. Here, if you're curious what the Hokipa rocks look like, here's a video of Ricardo going on the rocks at Hokipa. So this is what it looks like when you go on the rocks on a bigger day. Though there are different sections of the rocks at Hokipa, and this is one of the worst sections. It's easier, a little bit more upwind. Paul, good to see you. I've been meaning to write you. I hope you're good. Have you been sailing? I think I saw something that you've had some sessions. Hey, Caro. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna jump into the coaching. I'm just going through some of this footage. So this is what it looks like to go on the rocks at Hokipa. Ricardo, this is Ricardo Campello, destroyed a lot of his stuff. Hey, Max. And there's just upwind of this. It's a little bit easier to go on. This is difficult because there are so many rocks. It's so like spread out rather than just going on once. It's kind of bad, and then you get out. Oh, Caro, sorry to hear that you're sick. That's not good. Here are some waves from that day. It had a bit of size. Was fun Hokipa. The waves were really open. Normally you don't get so many turns on a wave at Hokipa. I was working on, one of the things I've been working on a lot myself in the last couple years is just really trying to fit as much as possible into one wave. So connect with the lips as many times as possible, and just do as many different things on the wave as I can. And yeah, connect with the lip. So like this wave, which might not look very flashy, is an example of putting together the pieces that I've been working on. With contact with the lip 3 times. Trying to find a rhythm, trying to find a flow. Yeah, Max, that sounds gnarly. Um, yeah, so we had some fun conditions at Hokipa, and then the next day was a bit smaller. I don't know if I rendered anything out from that day. Oh, I guess I did. So here's some stuff from the next day. A bit smaller. Again, I'm working on kind of the same thing, trying to have a rhythm, try to do as much as possible on the canvas of the wave. It's interesting. These turns look pretty good, actually, that first turn, but I really don't like them. And so I was disappointed with this one on the water because I don't like my fins to come out. I want to keep the rail engaged. But actually, it looks okay. Is another reason why footage is so important. Seeing yourself, because some things that maybe don't feel so good actually look okay. Um, I don't know. I'm still kind of on the fence about turns like that, whether I like them or not. Hey Mario, Rich. Oh, we already watched this one. Did we watch this one? Yeah, just some little waves. I mean, this wave is. I'm not happy with everything there. Paul, I do prefer the Ezzy wave to the Taka Hokipa. I I think the Ezzy wave has a bit more drive, and I like that. It helps me to keep speed out of the maneuvers. The Taka feels nice, and I have fun sailing on the Taka at Hokipa. But it can feel really really good. It goes so neutral and effortless. Uh, but I find that sometimes even if I enjoy sailing on the Taka more, I'm sailing better on a sail like the Ezzy Wave, where I have a bit more drive. It carries me through with a bit more speed through all my moves, which is interesting. Like watching footage, so sometimes I can feel like, oh, I'm having an amazing session on the Taka, and then I go out on the other sail, and my feeling is that the Taka is better, but then I watch the footage, and the sailing's better on the Ezzy Wave. But I like the Ezzy Wave. Just that's actually that comparison is not really real. I mean, I used to make that comparison between the Taka and the Elite. With the Ezzy Wave, I think it also feels better for me. I really like the speed and that sort of crisp, steady feeling in the sail. Yeah, so Max, my setup. So I've got, so in this I'm on a 5.0. The other clips with the orange sail, I'm on a 4.7, which is pretty windy for me. I'm heavy. I'm definitely on the heavier side, and so I'm more often on a 5.0 5.2 at Hokipa than 4.7 5.0. But it's been kind of windy, and I've got a 84 liter custom, and it has the same outline as my 88 liter, so it feels a bit bigger than an 84, but it still has thinner rails than the 88, which makes a difference for me. It's pretty nice for the turns, and that's quite small compared to my weight. I'm around, right? I'm more like 90 kilos, and so I'm using a board that is like six liters under my weight, but the outline is the same as an 88 that I have that I really like. It's an asymmetric board designed for Hokipa, and the fins, I've got tens, Ezzy tens, 2-degree tens from K4 on the sides, and then an 18 centimeter scorcher in the rear. And it took me a little bit to get this board set up to how I liked it, and I absolutely love it now. This is a wonderful board. It's fast, it's good on the turns, confident, good with the transition. One of the things that I really look for on a board is the transition from the bottom turn to the cutback, and I want something that doesn't get stuck, that I don't have to do too much with, that I can just focus on really pushing on the bottom turn and then pushing on the cutback. I don't have to worry about that transition too much. All right, we got a question from Ragnar. Hey, Ben. Hey, Carl. Nice. Good to hear that you got out in Razi. Got a question from Ragnar, and then I'm going to start going through the questions that are posted in the group. Ragnar says, what about jumps in competition? Do I train jumps as well? And thank you for the compliments. Yeah, I do train jumps, and less and less and less. Like when I was a kid, I was so into jumping and training jumping and inventing jumps. I was doing the 1 foot push loops and the no hand push loops, and working on all these different kind of jumps. And I used to do a lot of jump training. I haven't done as much as I should be doing recently. And I'm less motivated to do it. I don't know why. I mean, it's maybe kind of a boring answer, but I love the wave riding so much, and it's a part of windsurfing that the more I do it, the more pleasure it gives me, the more of a journey I can see ahead of me as well. Whereas with the jumps, by the time I was, I don't know, 21, I'd landed pretty much all of the jumps that are possible in windsurfing. I mean, I haven't done something like I haven't done Bujma's black shot, the like crazy Pete rotation. I haven't done a cheese roll to back loop or a forward to back loop, but I have done push forwards, and I can do doubles pretty comfortably on starboard tack. I'm not amazing at them, but I can do them. And so I kind of feel like my jumping journey is sort of stopped or sort of plateaued like 10 years ago. And now it's just about maintenance and small improvements, whereas wave riding is such a more rich journey for me that I can see continuing for another however many decades. And so I still like the jumping. I just feel like it's less rich or 3D for me going forward. And then also the jumps, I feel like they're more like stunts, like they're fun and they last a few seconds and you have to hype yourself up for big ones, and that's cool. But with the waves, it's something that almost borders on spiritual. It's like this practice of slow improvements and connection with the ocean, and it's more similar to dancing. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about jumping, and I still like jumping, and I'm happy to coach jumping, and I still do need to train jumping. And so, I make an effort to have a few jumping sessions to make sure that I'm not too rusty when the competitions come. But anyway, that's sort of a small riff to answer that question, Ragnar. All right, getting into the post in the group. So David posts this question about boards. He's after some advice specifically on board volume. He's replacing a 2006 single fin 66 liter RRD. He's told that he should go bigger with a modern board, but how big, I don't know. He weighs about 67 kilos, and his big board is an 85 that he can't jibe when he's overpowered on a 3.7 because the tail is wide and thick. Yep, I said that shape is more important than volume, and that's definitely true. But being lighter, I found that too much volume very quickly kills performance. Conditions are typical UK onshore low pressure systems with the odd trip to decent wave spots if the missus allows it. So what volume are you riding? How much do you weigh? All right, David. So at about 67, maybe a little bit more, 70 kilos, I think you want to be looking for a main board that's around 73 to 75 liters for a multi-fin board. And we've got a few people in the chat that weigh similar amounts to you that are quite happy with boards around those liters. I think Philip, I'm not sure if you're in the chat. I'll maybe tag you in this post. I think Philip is roughly around that weight, and he's ripping it up on, I believe, a 74 liter. But David, one of the things that I really recommend is trying some different boards. I think you'll get really a lot out of trying the boards, seeing how they feel, seeing what it's like. If there's somewhere where you live where you can do that, go for it. Or if you're going on a trip like Tenerife in the test center, they've got a lot of different boards. I know that Ragnar and Dennis, I don't think I saw Dennis in the chat, but they did a lot of board testing in Tenerife at the TWS, and that influenced decisions for buying boards for the next season, because it's quite hard to buy a board blind because there's so much personal preference involved. So I really recommend trying. But just to answer the question about volumes, if you're going for a thruster or a quad, I think something around 73 to 75 liters should be great for you. And that is about, 6 to 8 liters more than your weight. You could go a little bit smaller than that, but I don't think that there are many boards made in those sizes anymore. So if you can find a smaller board, that might be worth it. But I think for your weight, you should be good with those boards. Pier Francesco, good to see you. So you changed to the Taka since the Taka's 3. Not sure should go back to the Wave. Like the Taka, goes neutral faster, but love all and will try Wave if someone lends it to me. That sounds like a good plan. Yeah, I understand the love for the Taka. I think it's a super fun sail. It has some really special qualities, so I definitely get it. I love looking at all of these questions. Hey Bart, nice. That sounds like a good session. Nice. It's always good when you come home sore from being on the water. So we did a Zoom board setup workshop last weekend, and I want to do something like that again. I'm learning these different technologies of how we can communicate and relate with each other, and this was a really interesting one. I've done a bit more research since then, finding out different ways that I can set up, like my just hardware setup, cameras and whatever, to be able to show what I want to show. Really cool to see the posts that everyone's posting, and I want to hear how it works after you change what you want to change. So this is great, and I want to hear the next step. So if you were in that Zoom call and you measured these things and you made a change, I want to hear what that change was and how it went. If you had wind. And there's a question here from Edwin at the end, and he says, follow-up question for me. What is the effect of moving all the straps backwards, keeping the stance the same? Does this affect planing, jumping, and riding? And yes, this can affect everything. So moving everything back, you can start to sink the tail. That can make it more difficult to get planing, which then can affect your jumping for sure. And you can feel like you're pushing water. And on the riding, it might make the riding feel better because it makes it easier to get on the rail because you're pushing farther back. But it also might make the riding feel like you're more back on the board than you want to be. But again, it really depends, because if your setup was too far forward before, and then you weren't able to really engage the rail as easily, then it's going to really help the riding to move that stance back again. For planing and jumping, moving the stance back is going to have some compromise there, right? Because you are pushing the tail down a bit more. So if, like on a normal waveboard, if your main focus is just planing and jumping, then you do want to be more on the forward settings on the straps. But again, so much of this depends on your board and your preference. But you can oftentimes come back a little bit with the straps without too much compromise to the planing or the jumping, and get a lot more wave turning performance out of your board. All right, this is an old question. We already answered this, but we've got some footage that Hans posted. So Mark, maybe check out this. All right, here's a little update about the times. All right, so Edwin has been practicing back loops. Yesterday, or I guess it's a couple days ago now, he tried this one, and looking for a little bit of feedback. So Edwin, I like that we can see that your head is looking around. Looks like you're spotting the landing. It's hard to see. It looks like you're just maybe about to start over rotating. The two big things that I see here, and these are two comments that are, I think, common to a lot of people trying back loops, is one is that you need to take off more upwind. Again, it's hard to see the exact angle of the it's hard to see the angle of the wind to the wave to you, but just from looking at this and the way that you travel up into the air, it looks like you need to take off more upwind. And then when you're coming around, so this moment here, you start to open up. You don't want to do that. So when you open up coming down on the back loop, that starts to make the rotation go faster. And so what we want to be doing when we're falling down the last part of the back loop is actually really sheeting in and pushing the sail forward. And there's this motion that we are talking about before, like with the hands, where you're moving the hands kind of like a windshield wiper forward towards the nose of the board and sheeting in, pushing the sail towards the nose of the board, sheeting in and looking where you're going to land. And what that does is it steers you towards you want to land, and it kills the rotation, kills the power in the sail when you push the sail towards the nose. So like the heuristic is, or the like just the basic like mechanics of the rotation is when the mast is back, you're rotating. When the mast is towards the nose, you're not rotating. And so you want a very small moment of rotation in the back loop, because the back loop is a tiny rotation. You know, it's like a 90-degree turn, a little bit more than 90-degree turn. You know, it's or 180. I mean, it's barely a 180. It's barely a 180, if that. It's definitely not a 360. You know, because you take off so into the wind and then you land going so downwind. So it's really a tiny rotation. It's like you go up and you just fall down the other way. So we don't want to have a lot of rotation. So really sheeting in, pushing that sail towards the nose of the board. The other big thing I see here is your head. You're looking like at your sail, right? Because this is a helmet, so we can see where you're looking. You want to be looking over your shoulder where you're going to be landing, and that will help you. And then this opening up, right? We can see this opening up. That's getting some extra rotation in, some wind in the sail, which we don't want. So you want to keep that sail nice and tight, and that's safe. When you're in this rotation, with the sail open up, it starts to go quick and get kind of scary. So you want to keep that nice and tight, and aim to get the nose of the board. So you over rotate this a little bit, and it's because of that opening up at the end. So take off more upwind, and as you're coming down, make sure you're sheeting in, pushing the sail towards the nose of the board, bringing that mast forward, and then look where you're going to land. All right, Edwin, I'm not sure if you're in the chat, but let us know how that works and keep us updated. All right, Alberto wants to try the goiter, and a few other people. Who else wants to try the goiter? Christian, I think, said he does. Tomas is interested. Mateo is interested. So the goiter is a fun move. It's a difficult move, and it's a move that I think you need to have a certain level in order to do it. So I think you need to be able to do aerials to do the goiter. So if I'm making a flow chart of like, okay, you need to be able to do this move for the goiter, I think down the line aerials are the barrier to entry. So you need to do down the line aerials. I can't really see a way to do goiters or to learn goiters without already being able to do down the line aerials, because there's a lot of similarities with how you're getting projection from the wave and also getting back in front of the wave. So I think you need to be able to do pretty consistent down the line aerials. I mean, maybe there's someone out there that's going to prove me wrong, but and learn the goiter without doing down the line aerials, but I kind of don't see that happening. Tomas is asking if doing flockas and ponches are helpful for the goiter, right? And yeah, definitely ponches are helpful. Flockas as well. Let me see if I can pull up a goiter, and then I want to talk about how to get into doing it. So first of all, if you want to learn the goiter, you've got to learn. You've got to be able to already do the down the line aerials. Let's see if I can open this. And then so here's what the goiter looks like. If anyone is unsure, this is a goiter. And so the key to the rotation is you're throwing the sail under you, and then it fills up with some wind from the other side. And that, so if you look here, you can see that my sail is popped the other way. Do you see that here? The curve the other way. So the wind is coming on the other side of the sail, and that helps push me through and sort of accelerate me through the rotation. But the way to learn them in the beginning is not to try to land in front of the wave, and to steer more out the back of the wave. So when you're trying to take off, instead of pointing in this direction with your board is going to be pointing more out the back. And I think you need to do it somewhere side shore or side off. They're quite difficult to learn in onshore conditions. It's not impossible. So you know, if you are stuck learning them in onshore conditions, talk to me and like post it in the group, and we'll figure out a method. But they're a lot easier to learn when it's side shore, especially when it's side off. And then you can port that, once you have the technique, then you can port that into onshore conditions. But for actually learning it, I think it's a lot more difficult to learn it in onshore conditions. And basically what you want to do, and you know, in Cape Town, for example, Sunset Beach is a great place for learning goiters. You know, you travel down the wave with speed. So speed is really your friend. Speed is so important in this maneuver and most other maneuvers. So you have to be going really fast down the line. And then what I want you to do is you just come off the top of the wave, almost like this, but maybe even a little bit earlier, and aim to get air just from your speed off the lip of the wave and going out the back of the wave. So you're not aiming to come in front of the wave, and you're really using that space between the lip of the wave and the area behind the wave. You know, you've got some good height there that you're planning to rotate. And so you want the wave feathering, not really breaking, and then get a lot of speed down the line, do a little shallow bottom turn, come out to hit that. So you're going to get some air out the back of the wave. And then what you're doing is you're throwing the sail under you like this, and really try to think about getting the wind on the other side of the sail. And so you're throwing the sail down, but you're also trying to keep this front arm bent, because that helps to get the wind under the sail. And it really makes sense. Hey, Fabian. And it really helps to really be throwing with your whole torso, and just really try to get that sail under you, and then see what happens with the rotation. And in the beginning, you know, nothing might happen at first, and the sail hits the wave and maybe just crash. But the crashes are really not that bad. They're not painful, and you're not really landing on the gear with a lot of force when you do, so it's not likely that you're going to break something. But then once you start feeling the rotation, just do them more and more until you start rotating off the back of the wave, and you can land upright off the back of the wave. And then we can start talking about getting back in front of the wave. But you have to get the rotation first. And so that's the trick to getting the rotation. And Tomas asks, would you say trying them on a more open face with aim to land behind the wave and just practice the rotation makes sense? Yes, that's just exactly what I said. Yes, it does. That's how to do it. All right, but the goiter is also a really difficult move. You know, I don't know how many people in the world can do goiters. I mean, there are people on the world tour that can't do goiters. So it's difficult, and it doesn't mean that you can't do them. It just means approach the move with appropriate respect, and don't be too hard on yourself if you're not landing them right away, because it's definitely a difficult move. It was invented by Mark Angulo, and then you had guys like Dave Kalama and Josh Doan who were throwing them but not really landing them. And then Levi, I think, was pretty important for the wave maneuvers like the goiter and the air takas, for getting them more consistent. And then you have the next generation who were the first generation to where there's like a group of guys who could do them all the time. And, I think I'd put, so it was me, Brasinho, Cowley, Bujma, who else? I know I'm forgetting a few people, but there's not so many people who could do them really consistently. And so there was a period there of like 10 years where it was kind of just this small group. And that's like me, Brasinho, maybe Victor, Cowley, Bujma. Anyway, now there's more and more being made, and you see them all over the place. But anyway, the point is just that it's a difficult move, so it deserves some respect. So Pier Francesco asked about the one-handed goiter. I really like the one-hand goiter. I'm not sure as well if I'm the first person to do these in the waves. The freestyle guys started doing them in the event in Fuerte or that summer in some point in the early 2000s, and it was shortly after that then I started doing them in the waves. It was that same summer, and I remember there were some pictures of Bujma doing one-handed goiters but with the front hand off, and I think I was the first person to do them in the waves with the backhand off. I'm not sure though. This would have been like 2000, mid late 2000s, so maybe 2006 or 7, something like that. The one hand off actually makes the rotation a little bit different, and they're difficult to learn because you don't have that hand on, but actually it makes the rotation a little bit easier in some respects because you can really throw that sail over, and then it's just like you're jumping over the sail. And so in both onshore conditions or down the line conditions, sometimes it's easier to take the hand off actually. But then you miss a little bit of stability, and there are some trade-offs versus the two-handed one. But I also really like doing the one-handed goiters. They feel good. Anyway, let's get into these back loops from Tomas. Oh, let's turn the music on. These are really close. So Tomas, tell us a little bit about your back loop journey. How long have you been trying back loops? How many do you make out of 10? And what do you think you need to be working on with the back loops? You get so close sometimes. So what do you think, Tomas? Tell us a little bit about your journey as we go through these jumps. And I see a lot of similar feedback to what we just said with Edwin, which are the common mistakes or common things that need to be worked on. Which, number one, it looks like on a lot of these ramps you can take off more upwind. Again, it's really hard for me to see from this angle what the wind looks like, but just looking at how much you're changing your angle to the wind as you're coming up to the ramp. So like that one was a bit more upwind. But so I think we need to take off more upwind, and then really working on getting that sail pointed towards the nose of the board. Stuck that one. So like we're talking about where we're bringing that sail towards the nose of the board, that really makes them so much easier because it stops the rotation, kills the speed in the sail. So it sounds like you're aware of that. Getting a little bit more head motion as well will be helpful. I mean, this is kind of the same three things that keep coming up. Take off more upwind, use your head to spot your landing, and push the sail towards the nose of the board on the way down. Sheet in on the way down. Get that push towards the nose of the board. And yeah, those, I mean, it's really just, it's those three things. And we'll notice a big improvement. But we've talked about pushing the sail towards the nose of the board on the way down before, so I know that you're aware of that, and you say that you know that you need to focus on that. What is the barrier? What's getting in the way of doing it? And not over rotating. So the trick to not over rotating is really cheating in and pushing the mast towards the nose of the board, right? It's getting that sail pointing towards the nose of the board, or pushed towards the nose of the board, getting that mast leaning towards the nose, and that just kills the rotation. And it makes it really nice and calm, so you can really steer on the way down. So especially when it's windy, that is even more important to do. But what is it difficult to remember it? What gets in the way, Tomas, of implementing that in the water? It might be helpful to do some exercises on land. So just maybe with a rigged sail, so you have a bit of wind in it, and then just pushing towards, doing that windshield wiper motion with your arms, pushing the sail towards the nose of the board and sheeting in, and just trying to get some of that muscle memory. Really visualize it. So it's so hard to break habits, and if you've been doing moves for a long time with some bad habits and you're trying to implement good habits, it can be really difficult. And so we have to employ as many strategies as we can. Visualization is a good one. Doing exercises on land is another good one. So also changing location is a good one, because we get stuck in our habits where we sail. But if you go somewhere else, like you do a trip to the Canaries or somewhere else, it can be different enough that you lose your bad habits, or you can start working on good habits, and then when you go home again, you carry those good habits with you. You really got to exaggerate those motions, which is one reason I recommend doing it on land, with a rigged sail, like on the beach, maybe hooked up to a board, and just really pushing that sail towards the nose of the board. All right. We talked about this last time. So moving on. Owen posted about Cape Town. And Pekka's got a question about bottom turn, which I think also we talked about. Did we talk about this one? Maybe not. So Pekka, this looks good considering how big this board is for your weight. I know this is a really big board, especially for these conditions. It looks like you are getting the hips turned into the turn. You hear they're pointing a bit towards the nose of the board, and you're looking forward. I want to see you looking more somewhere along the wave that you're going to go. But getting a little bit more lean forward, I think, is the next step. Paul asks, do you look over your shoulder at the apex of the jump? Yes, I do. And that really helps for spotting the landing, getting the body in the right rotation, so like here are a few interesting photos with respect to back loops. So I'll show the apex. So this is the apex on one. And you can see that my head is focused on where I'm going to land. And that makes it a lot easier to do. So really just getting that head over the shoulder, looking where you're going to land, and then pushing the sail forward towards that landing spot. And then you can see, here's a picture of the landing. You can see my eyes are still focused on where I'm going to land, and really coming in down on the nose of the board. So you're not trying to land flat. You're really landing on the nose of the board. And you can't really see how I'm pushing the sail forward here, but you can see that I'm sheeting in, how much I'm sheeting in, bringing the sail close to my body. And again, that just really helps to kill the rotation and make the sail neutral and a lot easier to land. Tomas, dates for Cape Town are not set. I'm still trying to actually make Cape Town work. I might have to send out a little survey again to really figure out which dates work for people, because I've done some questions, and so I have like an overview of when people are there. But my time is actually a little bit more limited than what I thought originally, and so trying to make it work so that it fits for the most people is a little bit tricky. So I might have to do another survey to figure out dates, because I do really want to do a Cape Town clinic. It's just a matter of figuring out how and when I can make it work. Tomas says he looks too early, trying to go straight up before looking over the shoulder. Yep, that's also important. Yeah, but Tomas, really just getting that sail, it's like this windshield wiper with the hands, right? Where you're really pushing that sail towards the nose of the board, leaning the mast towards the nose of the board and sheeting in. So Pekka, I think just really working on leaning forward, trying to get in these difficult conditions on the big board, really trying to get those high fives where you're floating off of these whitewater sections and corners. It's like this one looks like a great corner to hit. So I want to see, I'm not sure where you're looking, if you're looking at this section, if you're looking somewhere down the line, but I would like to see you looking to hit these. You can make this kind of radius turn and hit this little whitewater corner, and I think that's a good strategy for these conditions. All right. We've got some questions some videos from Mario. Maybe we didn't go over, just checking the dates. So the 26th, when was our last live stream? So I guess we didn't go over these back loops. So let's do these. I thought we did, but let's go over these back loops, and then Mario, I'll get to your wave footage. Okay, so this is the same one, just in slow motion. So I like here steering upwind. You can see the change in his course, right? So he's starting on this angle, and then he starts steering more upwind, taking off upwind, going straight up. So there are a lot of good elements here. I think the angle that you're taking off is really good. I think one of the biggest things that will help you with more control is being more compact on the way up. And so you're taking off on a good angle, coming up straight up, but the body is in this sort of C-shape angle. You want to keep your hips in and your head and shoulders back. I want to get away from this sort of hunched over look, because that's not really allowing you to have much control. And then you've got to really change that body position for the way down if you want to be able to land it, which then is difficult to do. And it's difficult to get your head looking over your shoulder appropriately when you're in that C shape, right? Like when you're in this like C shape, you can't really move your head. Whereas if you're upright and your shoulders are back, you can move your head much more over your shoulder. And then when you are moving your head in that position with the shoulders back, it's doing a lot of different things to your torso as well. Whereas if you're in this position, you're moving your head. It's not doing anything to the body. Whereas if you're back like this and you're moving your head, your whole body moves. If you're in an office chair that's a little bit more turny, this one's not very turny, you can actually move the office chair just by moving your head, right? So my feet are not on the ground. I'm not touching anything. And just by moving my head around, I can get a little bit of turn in the chair. Whereas if I'm forward like this, right, it's just my head moving and it's not controlling anything in my body and torso. So you want to have your shoulders back, really fly upright, rather than in this sort of hunched over C shape, and that will make a big difference to the amount of control that you have. And then coming around is going to be a different experience, because now when you're coming around and you're in this C shape, you're not really able to get your head over your shoulder. It's really difficult to have control. So that, I think, is the biggest thing to work on. All right, Mario. So focused on the top turn higher on the wave and using the heels to carve. He says, I have a strange movement before the bottom turn I never noticed before. It's good to have this new angle to analyze. I took a screenshot of it. Basically, the chest gets very close to the boom. I'm not sure it is correct. All right, let's watch some of these clips. So this is a great tip from Carl, which is to help get the right position in back loops, jump with a straight front leg. I like that. Greg, cool. I'm glad that makes sense. All right, so we've got all these clips from Mario. So Mario also sent these to me with WeTransfer, and I think it's a little bit easier to watch them with the WeTransfer rather than through Facebook. So this is the position on the bottom turn that he's talking about, the screenshot, and you are quite close to the boom here. But it's really difficult to see just from this frame exactly what's going on. I like that your knees are pointing forward, your hips are pointing forward, you're looking down the line. So let's get into the footage. Let me make this a little bit smaller. So I like the speed and the carving here. So there's a lot of speed and a lot of carving in the beginning of this turn. And then looks like you hit a chop, something happens, and you go off the wave. And it's really difficult to see. The footage is a little bit cloudy. I'm not quite sure what's going wrong here. But I like this entry. I like what this looks like more than I don't like it. So even though you end up going off the back and maybe you're not super stoked with this, there's more here that I like than that I don't like. I really like the speed. I like the carving. I know you said there's a bit of water in the housing, that's why it's cloudy. But I think that this is a direction you want to be going in, and then see what, try and get the timing a little bit better with the lip. But I really like this carve. I like the speed that's going on here. I like the dynamicism of it. Here I can really see that you're on the rail, that your knees are pointing in the right direction. Like your body position here looks really like what you want, right? You're bent over, your hips are pointed into the turn, you're looking at the lip, the board is on the rail, and then either you're hitting some chop here, the wave is not really throwing yet, so it's a little bit early. All right, about Cape Town. So I'm gonna do a survey. I think I already have. Did I already do one survey? Let me finish with this footage from Mario, and then I'll post a link to a survey, or I can just create a survey real quick. And okay, so Mario, we're gonna get back to your thing in a second. I just want to ask for an email. All right, sorry, I thought I could do that super fast. I'll do that and I'll post it. I'll post it in the Facebook group. And then that will, I'll do the survey to collect interested people and then the dates that they can do it. All right, Mario, sorry for that little interruption. Let's get back to your footage. So this one, again, it's difficult to see too much of what's going on, but it looks like some good rail to rail work. There's, again, it's kind of difficult to see, but it looks like you're carrying some speed. All right, here we've got some clearer footage. And so what I want to focus on this one, and there's a moment like this in a few of the other clips, but this body position is something that we want to change. So like this position where you're kind of hunched over, the back knee is going forward. So like here, let me freeze on that. Right, there's not a lot of power in this position that you're able to put onto the rail. And so the reason that you're going to this position is you're winding up to then bring the board and bring all the equipment around laterally. But we really want to just try to stick to the rails. And so you can see you're really like then pulling everything around using the sail. But you'll get a lot more of a dynamic turn if instead of twisting the body like this. Want me to move my camera screen? Yeah. Sure. So you want to keep your hips more parallel with your feet, and so you're not getting into this sort of like hunched over, twisted position, and then instead you're just getting on the heels and pushing that board on the rail and then away from you. And you really want to be hanging from the boom rather than pulling in on it like this. So you can come up here and then just really hang from the boom and lean back against the boom and just put all that weight on your heels without doing this twist. Does that make sense, Mario? And so one of the things that I like about this is I can see you're aiming a lot higher for the whitewater, which is something that we talked about in the coaching previously. And so I can see that you're really implementing that. There's a little bit of this kind of twist going on here again, but I like that you're going for the top of the whitewater. This section doesn't have a lot of juice, a lot of power there, but you're still able to come out of this with a ton of speed because you're hitting it higher up. You could get a little bit more of a high five on this section, right? The board goes a little bit flat on the top, but still it's much better than coming too low on the whitewater, and it's dynamic and you're able to come out of it with a lot of speed. And so this is definitely moving in the right direction. So Paul is mentioning the rear hand movement. So this wave has more rear hand movement. Paul, what is your suggestion about backhand? And while Paul writes that, I want to just talk about this one. Looks like, again, it's really hard to see with this angle, but it looks like you are getting some high five contact a little bit higher up on the whitewater on this hit. And again, I can really see the speed that you're able to carry out of that turn, right? Like you fly out of that turn into this next bottom turn. So it really works when you do hit the wave in the right spot. You just carry so much speed. And again, it's hard to see from this angle, but that's what it looks like on that turn. So that looks like a nice turn. All right, get the last one here. So this one, you're turning under the whitewater again, and so like you're doing those other clips, you want to come more up onto the wave and let the wave turn you rather than using your power and the wave power to turn you. You want the waves to turn you. You don't want to be using the wind and your body to do the top turn, right? So like just sailing up into this whitewater and letting that high five contact happen between your feet to get the turn rather than muscling the turn, which you can see you're doing now under the whitewater. And then you can see like the difference, like how much speed you have when you come out of this, which is not very much, right? You've got a pump to get going on the next one. And whereas this one, where is it here, where you make the make that good high five contact, you could fly out of the turn, right? So you have so much more speed. You're able to go right onto the rail with the next turn. It's beautiful, right? You really just smack this section, and then you're already on the rail for the next turn when you come down, and that's because of the timing on this section. So that's what I really want you to focus on. Paul makes a good point about the hand position. You want to go wide in the bottom turn, then bring the backhand together for the cutback, which can help get the body in the right position, because if your hand is too far back when you're trying to do the cutback, then it can lead you to being sort of bent over like this. But you are moving the hands. I mean, the hand is moving quite a bit. We can see it move from back there to close to the harness lines. And so you can always do more hand movements, everyone. But what I think, so it's always good to focus on the hands. I think the biggest thing, Mario, is focusing on your timing and getting away from these twisted body positions. And so you're more, a powerful force pushing the board over on the rail and then letting the wave do the turning. Which some of these clips really show that you are doing. So you're really moving in that direction, and I think that is cool. So it's do more of, I think there's like 2 or 3 clips in here where you can really see that connection with the wave, hitting it a bit higher up, carrying your speed. So focus on those sensations. And yeah, cool, good job. I can definitely see you working on what we've been talking about, coming up higher on the wave and really getting that carve in your bottom turn, which is great. I want to see more footage. All right, so we already talked about all of these things. All right, so we got a question from Paul about forwards. Having got to a point about 18 months ago where I could pull a forward and get around, I seem to have unlearned the sequencing, and my best attempt on Saturday was just okay at best. 2 big takeaways for me from the session. I didn't focus enough on just going for forwards. Conditions were perfect, and that was my mission. Second, my takeoff. I repeatedly took off too much upwind, making the move rotation so much harder and landing on my back. This first time in many months I'd had the right conditions to do them, which explains some of my unlearned but gutted I didn't attempt more. Focus on it and make it back. Sounds downbeat, but I had an awesome session. Loads of people out and great buddy. Nick did his best forwards yet. Yeah, right on Nick. Nick's a member of the forward loop pact that we were doing. And yeah, he's been really working on his forwards. I think going downwind, especially when you're learning the forwards, is really important. So that's a very good point, Paul. If you have some footage, we can also work on the technique that you're doing. But I think really going downwind, and there's something else in general that I realized about forwards and how we talk about forwards that I think can help clarify them for people. So when we talk about forwards, we often talk about sheeting in, right? And you go downwind, you push the sail forward or up, and then you sheet in. And when we're thinking about sheeting in, we're thinking about this motion, right? Because that's what we're doing. If I'm sailing to you and this is my backhand, I'm sheeting in, and this is what sheeting in looks like. And so that's what I'm going to do on the forward. And that's actually not the motion in the forward. If that's on a scale of 1 to 100, that's a 10. What we're doing on the forward is more like a 90. And so instead of just pulling in the arm like this, what we're doing on the forward is actually twisting with the whole body to get the sail pulled in and twisting, right? So it's rather than just doing this, like pushing the sail forward and doing this, it's a full body motion where you're really using all the power of your core and your torso to just try to torque that sail pulling in against the wind. Does that make sense? So it's really so much more than just sheeting in. It's not just pushing and sheeting in. It's using your whole body to just really twist that sail, right? So it's really this twist. And it's quite a powerful motion, like something you would do in the gym with a heavy weight, using all of your back and your core muscles to twist that sail around. So it's really not just sheeting in. It's a full twist where you're trying to then, on the boom, you're pulling with your back hand and torso, and then you're pushing with your front hand and torso, and to get, as if you're holding a broomstick. And we actually did this exercise in Denmark, and it's your goal, if what we were doing in Denmark is the person who was trying to learn the forward was holding onto the broomstick kind of wide, and I was holding on in the middle, and I was trying to keep the broomstick totally stable in a line, and the person that was working on the forward is trying to get the broomstick just to move. And so I'm fighting them, right? And so what you'll notice right away is that if you're just trying to use your arms, just pulling in, you're not going to be able to beat me on the broomstick. But if you start using your torso and all the power of your body, that's when you can start moving the broomstick. I don't know if that exercise makes sense. You maybe have to see it to understand what I'm talking about. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions is we're always talking about sheeting in, but actually it's not sheeting in, because the sheeting in that we're talking about on the water, is this little motion with your back hand, and in the forward loop it's something that's so different. It's using the whole body. It's this, all right. So let me just show that one more time and we move on. If you're sheeting in, and this is what you're thinking about sheeting in with the forward loop, it's this twist. All right, does that make sense? All right, Ragnar says that Tomas gave excellent advice on his footstrap issue. 2 sets of footstraps from Witchcraft. Cool, let us know. Do a post when those come. I've never seen the Witchcraft footstraps. I've heard a lot of things about them, so it would be great to see them. Cool. All right, I think we are caught up. Are we caught up? All right, so I'm going to go through and make this form really quickly, and we can keep chatting. So ask me any questions. Does that make sense with the forward loops? Does that blow your mind with the forward loops? Like, is that surprising? That are the difference between sheeting in and actually that twisting motion. Does that make sense? And I realized that just the other day that, there's this issue with language. Language is so important, and it is sheeting in technically, but it's so different than the sheeting in that we're used to. So let me just quickly do this form, and I'll post it in the chat, and I'll post it in the group. What date do you arrive in Cape Town? All right, and then what date do you depart Cape Town? All right, so I'm gonna get this survey done. I'll post it in the chat right now. So for people that are interested in this, and again, it's actually kind of more difficult for me to get to Cape Town this year than what I originally thought. So I'm trying to figure it out when I can go that fits with when people are there. They changed. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, so this form is to help create a Graham Ezzy windsurfing masterclass in Cape Town 2021-2022. If you are interested, please fill out the details below. Okay, and so if you put the dates in on this, that will really help me because, again, like I said, it looks like my time is more limited than I thought. So I'm trying to, if I can go, I want it to line up when I can be there with the most people or make it work. So this is important. Obviously, if you live in Cape Town, just put, for the dates, just put something beginning. If you live in Cape Town, put your arrival December 1, 2021, and if you departure Feb 1, 2022. Anyway, this is just to kind of help get this sorted. I'll post this in the group as well. Hey, Julian. And again, I really want to make this work for Cape Town this year, but it's a little bit tricky. If you are interested in the Cape Town coaching, please fill out this survey. My time is more it is more difficult for me to spend as much time in. All right, I can't spend as much time in Cape Town as I previously thought. So this survey will really help to get the right dates nailed down. Thank you. All right. So I'm trying to figure it out. I know there's a lot of demand to do the coaching down there, and I know a lot of people are traveling, and I'd really like to make it work. So in order to make it work, I need some feedback from you guys. It's posted in the group. Paul, what are my thoughts regarding harness lines where they are close together or a bit apart? I use them so both ends are right next to each other, but not sure if this is the best way to go. I think for wave performance, you want them from about what is that? Maybe 3 inches apart. So what is that in centimeters? That's like 7 centimeters ish, 7.5 centimeters apart to touching. I think that's sort of the space you want. I often use mine with maybe about a couple centimeters in between, 1 to 2 centimeters in between, so maybe not fully touching. If you use them too far apart, then you don't have any, you can't really finesse the sail while you're hooked in. Again, when you're on the wave, you're unhooked, so it doesn't matter. But just for performance, for jumping and for sailing around, you want to be able to move the sail. You want to be able to sheet it in. You want to be able to push it around, and having the harness lines close together makes it so that you can more easily do that. If the harness lines are touching, for some people that might be a little bit too nervous. Again, like I like my harness lines, about an inch of space in between them. So that's like about 2 centimeters. And I don't notice a huge difference if I go from that to a little bit. I think like the tolerance is pretty big. Like there's maybe like a couple centimeters of tolerance there, for, like if I have mine touching or if I have mine a little bit farther apart, it's not going to make a huge difference for my session. But what I do think you don't want is to having them too far apart. So Paul, if your harness lines are close together and they're touching and you feel comfortable with it, yeah, I see no downside. I think there can be a downside when it's too wide again. Thank you, Ragnar. Yeah, I'm getting ready for France. I leave Maui on Friday, fly back to Europe, and then go straight to France. Well, not straight. I've got a couple days in Germany, and then I go to France. Yeah. Cool. All right, I'm going to sign off. See what the weather's like on Maui. I think we've got no wind this weekend, but maybe it's good surfing. The swell is up. I don't know if it's too big for Hokipa for surfing. It might be closing out there. So anyway, I'm going to check it out. I hope you guys have a good windy, wavy week. Remember to post your questions, comments, videos, photos, concerns, whatever else in the group. We can have some discussion in the Facebook group during the week. And I'll see you all next Sunday. There will be a live stream, Max, for the competition. Competition starts on the 12th of November, runs to the 21st of November, and it's a grand slam. So there's slalom, freestyle, waves. So there will be a lot going on. Ben Profit is doing the live stream like normal. It will be a good event, I think. I'm hoping for good conditions. All right, I'm going to sign off. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next weekend. I arrive next weekend in Germany, so I will be very tired for the live stream after traveling from Hawaii, but I will still be doing it. So I'll see you then. All right, take care. Have a good week.